Hello, it's Storyteller Mitch. We're going into Act 2 of Lady Precious Dream by S.I. Hsiung. Act 2. By some accident, we missed the simple but romantic marriage ceremony. Perhaps we purposely avoided it because we thought it might not turn out successfully, so it would be better have nothing to do with the matter. Nevertheless, we are always desirous to hear what happened to them, and so we have kept in touch with them somehow or other. We heard that the marriage did not turn out to be a complete failure, and that they lived quite happily together in spite of their extreme poverty, which was entirely due to their refusing to accept anything from the Wang family. Their pluck and courage made us admire them, especially Precious Dream, who being born and bred in a rich and noble family, we thought must have been spoiled by the luxuries to which she was accustomed from her childhood. We were astonished to find that she bore the hardship bravely and proved a very efficient and contented wife, a role which we find it difficult to imagine her filling. We decided that we may condescend to pay them a visit. Now that their honeymoon is over, we will certainly not be considered as intruders. Even if they object to our calling, we will go and watch them from afar. We arrive at the outside of the city at an open space before a kind of cave where the newly married couple live. The open space in front of the cave and the interior of the cave are supposed to be represented here. And further, when circumstances render it necessary, the winding road and the little hill which leads to the cave is included in the scene. Here's a picture. There is no decoration whatsoever on the stage, and the audience must have recourse to their imagination. Two soldiers, one carrying a small sack of rice, the other a tiny bundle of firewood, come forward to the stage and appear from the right. They go to the cave door. First soldier says, "Here we are." Second soldier says, "Yes, I believe this is the place." The first soldier says, "Let us knock at the door." He knocks. "Is there anyone at home?" A voice off stage, "Yes, I am coming." Precious Dream, plainly but tastefully dressed, appears from the right. We haven't seen her for some time, and she seems to be slightly changed in appearance. Her dress is of more homely stuff, though it is still well cut. Formerly she was a girl of engaging charms. Now she has become a thrifty wife and housekeeper. Precious says, "If you are rich, even the most distant relations come to visit you. If you are poor, not even the closest will come near you. Since I married Say Pink Wei, we rarely have visitors. But just now I heard a strange knock at the door." She calls out, "Who is knocking at the door?" The first soldier says, "We have brought some firewood and rice for our eldest brother Say." Precious says, "Then where is your eldest brother Say himself, please?" The second soldier says, "He will come back immediately." Precious says, "Much obliged." She opens the door. "Please bring in what you have brought." They enter with their burdens. First soldier says, "Here is 10 hundredweight of firewood." Precious says, finding a place for it. The property man takes it away immediately. "But here it is, put it here, please." Second soldier says, "Here is 5 hundredweight of rice." Precious says, finding another place for the rice. The property man takes it away immediately. "Put it here, please," to them both. "As your eldest brother, Say, is not home, you will surely excuse me for not asking you to stay and drink a cup of tea." The first soldier says, "Don't stand on ceremony." The second soldier says, "Thank you all the same." Precious says, "Thank you for your trouble. I won't detain you." The first soldier says, "Don't mention it. Goodbye." The second soldier says, "Only too delighted. Goodbye." Precious says, curtsying, "Goodbye." She closes the door, sits on a chair, and begins to sew something with invisible thread and a needle. The first soldier, Is this the daughter of the Prime Minister Wang? The second soldier says, yes. The first soldier says, and the wife of Sei Pinghui? The second soldier says, yes. The first soldier says, but where is her haughtiness? The second soldier says, she isn't haughty at all. The first soldier says, well, have you ever heard of a daughter of the Prime Minister who is not haughty? The second soldier says, hearing isn't believing, seeing is believing. They depart. A voice off stage. Look out, a horse is coming. Hsiung Pinghui, in uniform of a military officer, arrives on horseback, as is shown by brandishing a fancy whip with his right hand. On the girdle under his riding jacket there hangs a sword. He walks zigzag to show he is riding to the front of the stage and address the audience holding the whip across his breast. Safe. To a newly married man an hour away from his home, he seems to be 3 years, so I feel I have been absent from my home for ages. As I have some important news for my dear wife, I must hurry on by whipping my horse. He brandishes his whip and turns around. Here is my humble cave, which I consider better than a splendid palace. He calls out, my dear third sister, will you kindly open the door? Precious says, getting up, is that you, my lord and master Sei, who has come back? She opens the door. Sei, dismounting by making the gesture of dismounting and dropping the whip on the ground and going in. Yes, I have come back with some important news. Precious says, giving him her seat and sitting at his side. Never mind about the news, the most important things. Do you want something to eat and drink? Sei says, thank you. I have had a good dinner at the camp. Wait a second here. Precious says, so, that's why the 2 soldiers brought us 10 hundredweight of firewood and 5 hundredweight of rice? Yes, that's part of the... Oh, looks like I missed something. No, there's no page in between. Oh well. Precious says, so, that's why the 2 soldiers brought us 10 hundredweight of firewood and 5 hundredweight of rice? Yes, that's part of the news, too. It is payment in advance of my salary, and we didn't worry about our food anymore. Precious says, good news indeed. Sei says, I have just been appointed an officer of considerable rank. Precious says, that's fairly good. Hay says, you don't seem to be very enthusiastic about the good news. Precious says, oh yes, I'm rather glad that you are now beginning to ascend the ladder of promotion. But this is only the beginning. To me, my husband ought not to be satisfied until he has surpassed all men. Sei says, thank you for your encouragement. I will do my best for your sake, dear. Precious says, very good, and what else do you want to tell me? I perceive that you have something on your mind which makes you uneasy. Well, Sei says, well, I am now in government service, and I can hardly consider myself my own master. I am ordered abroad with the troops. Precious says, a man's ambition cannot be limited by space, as the old proverb says. You needn't be uneasy about telling me that you must leave me for a time, though we must have been married for a month only. Sei says, uneasy? Oh, quite. The fact is, well, it is a very long journey. We are going on a campaign to the west regions. Precious says, somewhat astounded but keeping her presence of mind. Oh, is it a long, dangerous journey, even in peaceful times, and now we are at war with them? Sei says, that's why I'm going. Precious says, even those who go to the western regions as friends seldom return. Seldom return satisfied. Sei says, no, they never return at all. Precious says, and are you going there as their enemy? Sei says, yes, our aim is to conquer them. Precious says, when do you start? Sei says, very soon. Precious says, then I must prepare some winter clothes for you, because you may have to stay there over the new year. Sei says, you didn't make any preparations for me. I have something more to tell you. Precious says, then tell me at once. Sei says, it's very difficult to tell you at once. Precious says, forcing a smile through her tears, then tell me little by little. Won't mind. Sei says, the date of our general mobilization is fixed. Precious says anxiously, when? Sei says, well, do you understand riddles? Precious says, a little. Sei says, if I say the date is far, far away. Precious says, forcing another smile. 100 years away. Say says, and if I stay, the date is quite near at hand. Precious appalled. Today! My heaven! She hides her face in her long sleeves. Say, approaching her and trying to soothe her. Tut, tut, cheer up. Why wouldn't you be glad to see me return triumphantly on horseback as general? There is something to which you may look forward. Precious says, but to think we have only been married for a month and you are leaving me today, so unexpectedly too. Why did you apply for such a post? Say, I didn't apply for it. It was conferred upon me. Precious says, how? Say, resuming his seat, people have been talking about a monster with red mane which has been devouring travelers in a wood nearby. Well, I thought I ought to do something, and I went to the wood this morning and shot the monster, which proved to be merely a tiger of enormous size. Precious says, a tiger of enormous size? And you say merely? Say says, yes, I was quite disappointed. Precious says, forgetting her trouble for a minute. How wonderful. Now, my dear hero, tell me how you did it. And I'm going to stop there, and I'll tell him how you did in the next one. Thanks for listening. Bye.